Hello, welcome to another edition of Serving the Valley, Cedar Falls television production that kind of tries to get you up close and personal on what really makes this part of Iowa a great place to call home. I'm Roy Justice. Back in the good old days, back when Roy had hair, it was reading and writing and arithmetic. That would cut it. Today, afraid not. Gets a little more involved, and that's where we're going. In fact, we're going even beyond just a little involved. Today, we're going to talk to students and their leader, and we're going to talk about just that. Leader in Me is the big title. Leader Valley is the title in the schools in this area, and Terry Trask knows a little bit about that. She's better known as Mrs. T. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here because, frankly, I don't know a lot about Leader in Me or Leader Valley. And at the end of our program, I want to be able to take a test on it. So let's talk about Leader in Me. First of all, Terry, what is it?
Well, what is Leader in Me? Leader in Me is actually let me back up. Leader Valley.
Yes.
We are part of the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber. So the talent development arm of the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber, Leader Valley, is underneath that. And our main mission is Leader in Me, bringing Leader in Me to the schools in the Cedar Valley.
Okay. Terry, by the way, got her BA and MA here at UNI, and you brought some friends along.
I sure did. I sure did. I'm going to let my friends introduce themselves.
I'm Connor Best.
Connor Best, and you go to school at?
St. Pat's.
Read the shirt.
That's right. And what grade are you in, Connor?
I'm in 6th grade.
Okay.
And next?
My name is Selah Hess, and I go to Orchard Hill School, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Okay, and by the way, if we have time, she'll sing. Boy, now she's going to be scared. But she could.
Right.
She could.
I could.
Connor and Selah, I want to ask you, first of all, if someone were to ask you, like I'm about to ask you, what is Leader Valley all about as far as you are concerned, Selah, what would you say?
I would say it's about kids leading through stuff like working together and thinking about other people.
Good. Connor, what would you say?
I say it's about basically inspiring kids to stand up and to make their own choices so that they feel like they have control over some things and they realize how important it is to stand up to other people and just being a leader for other people.
Wow. I like that. I think we could stop right there. But let's not, because we have more questions.
Right.
You've been described, Terry, as being someone, I'm going to quote here, with passion and energy and optimism that you bring to the table. So, gosh, here's the table. I think I'll step out for a snack, and you and the kids can carry on, and you probably could. And she says, you go right ahead. I've asked you what it is in the Cedar Valley. Where is it?
When you say where is Leader?
Where is Leader Valley being played out?
Right. So we were really fortunate to have a group of business leaders understand that students in our schools, as they exit our schools, were not well prepared for being in our being good employees.
Right.
And so they came together and said, what could we do? And they've really bonded together and financed the implementation of Leader in Me in 24 of our area schools. And our goal is to be in all Cedar Falls Waterloo schools by 2020.
Okay.
So,
To do that, there takes some coordination.
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Not only sitting the students down and getting them prepared for that, but their staff, families, and we've got families here observing right now, as a matter of fact, and the common goal is preparing students with college, career, life readiness skills necessary to thrive in the 21st century.
Right. And it's a business education partnership to do that. So just as you heard from Connor and Selah, it really has 4 parts. It's the 7 habits of highly effective people, which everyone seems to be very familiar with. But really the other pieces are that we have identifying students' gifts and talents and what they can bring to the table in terms of leadership. You heard from Connor about empowerment, empowering students to lead their own learning and having authentic leadership opportunities just like they're having today. and learning some of those 21st century skills that will help them be prepared, like you said, for citizenship, employability.
It sounds
college.
like a really tall order. Is there enough time?
There's definitely enough time. The structure of Leader in Me is really threefold. It's leadership, culture, and academics. And the thing that makes it unique is it is an inside-out model. So we get to start with educators. And we know that if they can live the habits, they can give the habits. So that modeling is the highest form of teaching. So taking care of our educators so that they can take care of each other and the kids that come in the door is very powerful.
Selah, I'm going to name off some names here. Some you may be familiar with. I want you to stop me when I get to one that you want to talk about. You ready? Critical thinking, creativity. You ready to say stop
Yeah.
there?
Think of passion groups, right?
Talk about that.
So when I think of creativity, I think of minds thinking about stuff out of the box. Like this one time, my dad said, this nursing home, it had a fire, and right out of the box I said, I have an idea for my school. And I talked to my principal, and she thought about it, and she said yes. And then there's this other teacher. She said, okay, I'll help you figure this out. And at home I did a lot of work on that, and I found a name for it. It was Notes for Nursing Homes. And every morning all the kids gather up in front of the front door, and they would just stand there and wait until the bell rings, and then the teachers would open up the door slowly and everyone would just go rushing in. But some kids thought it would be nice to make notes, so I put a box and I wrapped it with Christmas paper, like wrapping paper, and I put it out on the a cabinet, and when the kids came rushing in, some of them could grab an envelope and a piece of paper, and they could take it into their room, and there's 45 minutes before school actually starts, and they would write notes and put them in that box.
Excellent. And it was all your idea. That's called creativity. That's good.
And
Connor, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and a great example that the school is structured, like we said, leadership, culture, academics.
Right.
At Orchard Hill, the culture is that students are empowered to do that. So the fact that Selah had the idea and that the idea was supported and they were able to carry that out, because we really want students to know that the world doesn't end at their school doors. It doesn't end at the city limits. That being a part of a community, it's a privilege. It's not a right. And so how can they give back and make it better? And she just gave an excellent example of doing that.
Good. You get to stay a little longer. Okay? Don't leave. Don't leave. Connor, you're not off the hook. I've got some more terms here. Okay. We have to be out of here by midnight, I think. So stick around. Self-discipline, vision. You stop me when I come pick up one you want to pick on. Initiative, communication. Communication. Go.
So, like at our school, when the teachers that we can really talk to them. Like they'll because we have little smaller classes. I know from some of my friends that some of their classes are big. So sometimes our teachers will take the time to sit us down and like explain a really difficult lesson to us if we just are super stuck. And we have emails, so we are allowed to we can get a hold of them if we're we don't understand, and then they will be like, well, we can talk about this tomorrow in school if it's the weekend and you're really confused and there's no way to get there yet. So there's no pressure to get it done, and they're not they sit you down and they're They want you to know that they're ready to help you and they're ready to support you in your learning.
Great, good example, excellent example. But gee, I've got some more terms. I'm going to throw some more, and then either one of you, or Terry, you chime in too. Relationship building, public speaking. Hello, where are we? Where are we? Global awareness. That's a big one. Emotional control, controlling your emotions. Any examples pop to mind?
What is habit one? When we think control emotions, habit one, do you remember what that's called? It's be what?
Be proactive.
Yeah, be proactive. So with habit one, we really work on we're in charge of who, guys?
Us.
Exactly. So if we're in charge of us, there are really 4 things that we do. We pause before we respond, right? We use proactive language because we know what comes out of our mouth could stick to somebody's heart. So we pause and respond. We know how to think about it, right? Before we speak. Our proactive language, we operate in our circle of influence. And then both of these students are excellent examples of being what we call a transition person. So they take a negative situation and they can make it a positive situation. And I know that Selah gave us an example. And Connor, could you speak to your goal setting that you're working on at your school?
Yeah. So we have papers, and what we do is we sit down and we think about what we could work on, and if it because there's lots of different parts. So if say we're struggling with grammar in language arts, we could make a goal to do better, and then you have two or more steps that you use to get to that goal. So my goal is to practice my saxophone before I go to bed every night so I get better. And my steps are to make sure I bring it home after band lessons, and then to make sure I do it and I take the time to do it. I don't save my homework for the last minute and then stack my 20 minutes of practice on top of that.
Good
Which is
example.
great.
Good example. Yeah.
So really, that's a private victory. It's habits 1, 2, and 3. So Connor's exemplifying that he's being in charge of himself, he has a plan, and he knows how to put first things first. But the 40X process that we have gleaned from the business world, we've brought that to the schools to say, what is your WIG, your wildly important goal? So how do we put that into being a disciplined process? We set our WIG, we have our lead measures, we scoreboard that, have accountability partners so we can talk through it. So these are skills that our students will have exiting their Leader in Me experience.
Excellent. See, I told you I could have gone for a snack, and this could have gone on just fine and dandy. I got a couple other terms, though, and see if somebody wants to chime in on that. Leading projects, self-directed learning, valuing diversity. What's diversity?
Well, go ahead.
The difference between people, and respecting that some people have a different religion, or some people have different things to do. Some people, their families have different ideas about things. So to value that is to respect that they need to do that for their family, and it's they're normal, but it's not normal to you. But you don't have to be there and be like, no, that's wrong. You can be like, oh, that's interesting, and want to learn more about it.
I was going to put together the diversity and self-directed learning and ask Selah to speak about what they're doing at Orchard Hill with passion groups, because you were allowed to choose, is that correct? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So there was some 5th and 6th graders that thought it would be fun to have a passion group and passion groups in our school, and so a couple days ago we took a passion test on our Chromebooks, and we got 3 choices, and so there was puzzles and games and singing and art and baking, and we got 3 choices, because if our first one didn't work, we'd choose our second one. Second one didn't work, we'd choose our third one. And I thought it was a great idea, and now that, and we're starting it in December, so now that I know that there are some kids like me that like to sing or create, craft or bake, that I know that there are some kids like me.
So really, all of the students are able to pursue one of their passions, hence the name Passion Groups.
Sure.
And it's really exciting that we're expanding leadership beyond, we have 5 students who do it all, but really all students can be leaders. All students have genius, which are 2 of the other paradigms. Students can be empowered to lead their own learning. We want them to understand that change starts with them. And all of those are exemplified with the Passion Group. So super excited that you're able to be a part of that and that students can see that their gifts and talents can be used to make a difference.
Excellent. There's an example that I know that we could show right now, as a matter of fact, and that's a hint to the people pushing the buttons in the back room. Sometimes very important people show up and they want to learn about the Leader in the Valley program, and that just happened not too long ago. Watch.
I have actually synergized in writing with partner so that we can finish our poems so we can make books. And it's been hard in sometimes, but we've managed.
First of all, I want to tell you how impressed I am with all of the answers that you've given and how you diligently every day try to follow the 7 habits. It's really impressive, just from the way that you've met the governor and the lieutenant governor and the way that you've introduced yourself and you've talked about setting goals and really improving on what you're doing. So it's really, really impressive. Thank you to the educators that are making a difference in the school to help you do that.
There's another example. There's a good example. I'm looking at one right here. Can you, probably can't quite get in on this thing right here. The problem we have when we produce our programs, which by the way, you may see more than once or twice or 5 or 6 times over the next several months. There are events that a lot of organizations do, and we can't really call too much attention to them because by the time you may see this in December, January, February, March, it's already over. But here's a good example. And back there in the control room, there's one of those things that says 7 habits, and it's got a couple of dates on the end of November. That happens to be it right there. I'm going to call your attention to that and Terry to explain what that's going to be, even though some people may be looking at it after it's all over.
All right. Well, thank you, Roy. Actually, we are so blessed here in the Cedar Valley. We are the only team in the world that's trained both business and education. And we are allowed by Franklin Covey Company to offer 4 times a year the 7 habits of highly effective people to the general public. So this is our next one coming up, November 27th and 28th. And we have another one or 2 more in the spring. But this one is November 27th and 28th. So people that are interested, that are not a part of the schools, are able to take advantage of this and can do so by calling the Alliance or going to our website.
Excellent. Okay, and for those of you that missed this one, again, watch for the ones in the spring. We always play beat the clock with these programs, and there's, oh gosh, I wish he would have asked me about. So here it is. We still have time, and I haven't asked you about what?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I would be remiss not to mention is how people can get involved to support this. Like I said, we are a business education partnership. We are a nonprofit. We're the only ones, again, in the world, not only trained, but using this model. Several schools that would like to be a part of Leader in Me have to go out, I always say, and sell candy bars to make it happen.
Right.
We are financed by the generous contributions of our community. So Create Great is our campaign. As you can see on the screen, that is our donation form. You can also go online and donate. And we currently, we have a goal of $7 million to sustain this throughout and to hit all the schools in the Cedar Valley. And we are at almost 3 million of that with 157 donors. So we'd love to add to that list and, like I said, be able to ensure that we don't just get it started, but we keep it going here for years to come. So Create Great is our campaign, and we'd love to have everyone be a part of it.
Actually, there are some visuals, if you will, online. And if somebody wanted to get online and get that information, because wherever they are, they can't write it down right now, how would they go about doing that?
Yes, so if you go to the leaderinme.org, or excuse me, Leader Valley, you can also get information from Leader in Me, but leadervalley.org is our local one. You can find us also on Facebook, and there is a link there, or you can call the Cedar Valley Alliance as well. But there is a promotional video that really explains the whole program and how it came to be. We're really blessed again to have our community behind us, because this is a school business partnership, and we've had a lot of great support. We actually have 3 lighthouse schools here in the area. So St. Pat's was the first private school in the state of Iowa last year to become a lighthouse school. And what that means is they get to shine the light for other schools and be a model with the implementation of that framework. So again, in leadership, culture, and academics, they have results that they're after, and they have implemented with fidelity, and they have several visitors throughout the year. So we have St. Patrick's School, Hoover, and Orange Elementary that are all lighthouse schools here in the area.
Connor, I'm looking over at you, and I'm thinking, Connor's saying, I wish he would have asked me about. If I were to ask you about, what would the about? You fill in the blank. Because you're going to go out of the studio and you're going to say, they didn't talk about.
Probably the fact that we have jobs, so we can get involved in the school community. So we can sign up for a job on a sheet, and then we write down why we want to do this job, and and then what we do is we have to go into like a mini pretend interview to get us kind of familiar with a job interview. And then so we take interviews, and then the student council they take the interviews and they look at them and they think this person will be good at this job because of the reasoning that person gave.
Excellent. Selah, I'm going to ask you the same thing. I didn't ask you what, fill in the blank. What would you like to talk about we haven't had time for you to talk about regarding the Leader Valley program?
Well, I think because of Leader in Me, there are lots of habits that kids can learn about, and some kids have a favorite, like me. My favorite is Synergize, because working together is really fun to have kids working with you and to be able to work together with other kids.
Can you give me an example of one of those that you work together with other kids?
Well, one of them is just yesterday we did a breakout with our teacher, one of our teachers, and there were 5 locks that we had to open, and I worked with most of them, but there was this one lock that was really hard, and these kids were just so stuck on it. I'm like, here, let me help you. And then it said, and then we figured out the word was the name. The word lock is the name, and the last 5-letter word in the whole letter was blank. And that was the code. But we got the last letter. It was really hard because there was no K on the last letter, and we thought it has to be, and it said, but the blank, it was blank. It wasn't a K, it was a blank. It was blank.
So that was my question. You filled in the blank.
Right. There you go.
Exactly. Terry, in the remaining moments, somebody out there is saying, well, this is really interesting. It's a shame it's not going further. And you've talked about goals to get it further. Where else is it outside of our area?
Oh, it's across the world. So again, I misspoke earlier when I was talking about Leader Valley and Leader in Me, but if you go to leaderinme.org, you'll be able to see just how far-reaching this is. They had their first Global Leadership Summit last year, and it is amazing to see the impact of leadership. You know, we know that when you walk into our schools that are Leader in Me schools, we want it to feel different, number one, but it also, we say see it, hear it, feel it, and feel it most importantly, because just as these two students have said, you know, leadership is not a position, it's a choice, and they've made that choice. They're here because they're Leader Valley ambassadors. This year we opened it up for each school to nominate 4 students, and they had to fill out an application, and they chose to do that. So we really appreciate that they're willing to be here and be ambassadors for Leader Valley and Leader in Me. So they're serving as role models for their schools, other students, and really our community. And I look at our students and think our future is in pretty good hands, that they're going to come out with these skills.
Well, I can speak for me, that's all I speak for, but when you walked in the studio just not too long ago, we had a chance to meet and the room changed. I don't know what it was about it, but the room changed. And so has what's happened on the TV sets. People are watching this, and I'm sure they're paying attention to it. Thank you, all 3 of you, for being with us. I hope the rest of the school year is good for you. How do you feel about the rest of school? Selah?
Good.
Good? Connor? Good. I guess they'll let you back in the door again now,
Yes.
huh?
And Roy, would it be
Derry.
possible to put up the ultimate end in mind slide? Would that be possible?
Let's see if we can make magic
Okay,
happen.
great. That would be great. I just would like to leave people with what the ultimate end in mind is for Leader in Me, and it's really to prepare our students. Right there it is. There we go. The ultimate end in mind in working with students is not academics, school culture, or leadership skills. Those are all means. The ultimate end in mind is for students to develop the skills and mindsets that will allow them to lead their own lives, to be able to work effectively with others throughout life, and most importantly, to make a meaningful contribution wherever they go in life, at home, at school, at work, at play.
The Leader in Me. Great example, great example. Terry and Connor and Selah, thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. And thank you for joining us as well. Another edition of Serving the Valley. Until we have the next opportunity, Serving the Valley, I'm Roy Justice.